OutkickTheCoverage.com, college football dude as well. All right, so I think Ryan Lochte's a liar. And I know that he had a gun pointed at his head from what I can gather of the 9 stories and backtracks I've heard. But wouldn't you argue, Clay, that if you sent your children overseas, you would say, be gracious and generous and don't get into trouble? Can't I just say Ryan Lochte has terrible judgment and started this whole mess?
Well, I think all those things are true, but look at the number of people who go to Cancun or Mexico or Dominican Republic on spring break every year and end up getting shaken down by police officers for doing knucklehead things when they're drunk. And I think that's really the story here. Ryan Lochte got drunk. He got into a cab, and like a lot of guys who get into cabs after they've been drinking for a long time, he had to go to the bathroom. To me, Colin, the big story here is Ryan Lochte and his teammates under gun, 2 guys, Brazilian security guards speaking Portuguese, showed up with guns and took money from them. In any country in America, obviously in any state in America, in any country in the world, that is by definition a robbery. When I put on my lawyer hat and I studied for the bar exam, the textbook example of a robbery was if somebody forces you by using force to give something to them, that's a robbery. And so to me, the real story here is this, Colin. Yes, Ryan Lochte's a knucklehead. Yes, he is 32 and probably should certainly know better. But in the grand scheme of things, to me, Brazil is by far the wrongdoer here, and we're focusing on the wrong aspect of this. They took 3 swimmers' passports. They extorted an almost $11,000 payment out of one of those swimmers to get his passport back and be able to leave the country. And they falsified a lot of the details in their report, at least as much, if not more, if you look at all the evidence, as Ryan Lochte did. Ryan Lochte was drunk, and he exaggerated exactly what happened to him. But a lot of people have been drunk and exaggerated stories over the years. The thing that is not exaggerated is the fact that under gunfire, basically, under 2 guns being pointed at him and his teammates, they were forced to turn over money. To me, that's the wrongdoing, not being drunk, not peeing on the side of a building, not ripping a $10 poster board off the side of a gas station.
But where's the culpability for the American athlete knowing they're going to a country where they've been warned about robberies and crime?
Well, look, I'm not saying Ryan Lochte's smart, and I think that's why he's been so much of a victim of being attacked here. I think that if you put this on the flow chart, and I always like to do this, Colin. This is back when I was practicing law, back when I was doing criminal law. What you first go to is the things that are undisputed in a case. What we know is undisputed is Ryan Lochte and his teammates were drunk. They were in a cab. They went to a gas station. Once they were there, it's also undisputed that 2 Brazilian security guards, gas station security guards, who are speaking Portuguese, show up, draw their weapons, and threaten these swimmers and force them to give them money. In any country in the world, I believe that is a robbery. Now, did Ryan Lochte not tell a full and complete story? Certainly. Did Ryan Lochte make a mistake by going public with this story at all and embarrass his teammates and put the United States Olympic Committee in an awkward situation? Certainly. But when you look at the facts that we know indisputably happened, Ryan Lochte is not the bad guy here. Brazil is.
So Notre Dame had 6 players arrested over the weekend.
I know you're not buying it. But I really believe that Lochte got screwed here.
Well, okay, I'll stay on that. If this happened to my daughter, I'd be pissed at my daughter, not the Brazilian who put a gun at her head. I would say to my daughter, you put yourself in a ridiculous situation. Dad warned you going overseas. This was a part of the country where there is great income inequality. You knew better. I'm not saying you can't go over there and have a Zima. You can't have a cooler. You can't have a Bud Light with your boyfriend. You put yourself in a terrible situation, and I am grounding you, not the Brazilian guy with a gun. So, I mean, I'm one of those. My wife always has a saying, Clay, don't do what you shouldn't do, and don't go where you shouldn't go. And I think Lochte started this whole mess.
Oh, there's no doubt. Look, Ryan Lochte made bad decisions to put himself into a situation where all this could happen. But even having said that, once you get it accelerated, and I think the Brazilians certainly took it to another level. Look, I have been drunk and peed outside before. I bet a huge percentage of your listeners have been drunk and peed outside before.
Yeah, I did it.
Not advisable. Everybody who's ever played golf has certainly done it.
Yeah.
And so it's not advisable. But if you are doing that in public, I think if you said, Here's what's happened. You got a drunk guy who's peeing outside, and then you got two people who show up and brandish weapons and take money from them. If you put that on the flowchart of responsibility, you would say, yeah, you shouldn't have been drunk and you shouldn't have been outside peeing. But also, by the way, you probably don't anticipate, and certainly it would be criminal if two people showed up with guns drawn, screaming at you, and took money for you for your wrongdoing. So yeah, look, nobody is a perfect angel here. And typically in all criminal investigations, you know what happens? Nobody's a perfect angel. It's very rare that there's somebody who's completely innocent that ends up in the criminal justice system. Everybody is a little bit complicit. Nobody is perfect. Everybody does things a little bit wrong. What astounds me about this story in general is the degree to which everybody has jumped on to Ryan Lochte and tried to act like he represents everything that is awful about America. In the grand scheme of things, was he wrong? Yes. But did he do what the vast majority of Americans at some point in time have done on a foreign vacation when they're young? And by the way, everybody's saying this guy's 32, he's not a kid. I always look at things based on your life cycle. I'm 37 and I've got 3 kids and a wife. But if I were 37 and single, out where you live in LA on the East Coast, there are a lot of single guys still doing dumb things. It's more about your lifestyle than it is about your age. And Ryan Lochte's a single guy without kids, out with 20-something-year-old guys. I don't really judge him for drinking too much and ending up peeing on the side of a building.